On to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one, on to the next, on to the next one.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Lotus Television here on Chief Holiday's channel. And we're going to really dig into this meta-netter business. And we're going to find out that how was the world misled about the meta-netter. We're going to see exactly how did the hieroglyphs receive their letters. What cipher methodology or encryption, what type of enigma was used to really put a letter to a pictorial image? And first, you are going to witness some videos that deal heavily into this topic. Yes, brother. Greetings, everyone. It comes on the panel, and honorable admiration to everyone in the chat. Download the Tribe Up app, Aboriginal power to the family, and respect and love to everyone all around the world. I remain primordial centered. This planet is ours. It's all of ours. So let's gather up and see exactly what's going on with this meta-netter. Perfect. So you're going to hear Dr. Ben and Ashra Kwesi share their opinion about meta-netter here on Chief Holiday's channel.
Or Tommy, none of them deciphered also that before Champollion, there was a Jesuit priest who came through here named Ignatius Keshner. Ignatius Keshner, who was a Jesuit priest, was the one who tried to decipher the meta-netter. And some have called Champollion the father of deciphering the meta-netter. But I don't think that Ignatius Keshner, Champollion, or Thomas Young, I don't think none of them deciphered the deep meaning of the Medu Neter. I don't think none of them deciphered the deep meaning of the Medu Neter. I don't think none of them deciphered the deep meaning of the Medu Neter. I don't think none of them deciphered the deep meaning of the Medu Neter. I don't think none of them deciphered the deep meaning of the Medu Neter. I don't think none of them deciphered the deep meaning of the Medu Neter. I don't think none of them deciphered. I don't think none of them deciphered.
The first question is approximately 7 foreign languages, but I speak languages that are considered dialect, and then I read some languages that are, in fact, what they mean dead. It means it could be read, but no one can speak it since that we don't have vowels for it. And a good one would be what you call Medu Neter. Some people going around saying that they speak in Medu Neter. That's just what it is. You can't speak it because there's no vowel. The European added some vowel to try to, communicate with each other. And there are more than one such language, and there are many languages in which we have not, no one seems to have decoded yet along the Nile and elsewhere. The first question is, some people going around saying that they speak in Medu Neter. Some people going around saying that they speak in Medu Neter.
Choco, 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 choco. Wee wee, choco, 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 choco. Wee wee, choco, 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 choco.
All right, as you can see there,
out to Star City, Virginia.
Those who speak this Medu Neter, apparently the people who they look up to in the Pan-African community, Afrocentric community, and the Kemetic community, that apparently those who they call their master teachers and grandmaster teachers do not quite agree with this Medu Neter language. You hear Ashra Kwesi blatantly state, I don't think any of them deciphered the real meaning of the Medu Neter. Now, we can deal with the fact that he calls it Medu Neter and not hieroglyphica. Then you have Dr. Ben saying that when they're speaking Medu Neter, they're just going chickadee, chickadee, chickadee. And, I had to add my little twist on it to help the expression of Dr. Ben, who would be called the grandmaster teacher of this. And no one was going to Egypt, or we can say we can count on our hands and toes on one body of people who are brothers and sisters from America dealing with Egypt. We can, and we're going to fall short of a whole lot of fingers and toes. Then you have Dr. Ben say that Europeans created it. Europeans added the nouns. And that is a part that's connected to the Dutch. That's the part that's connected to the Yiddish. That's the part that makes it all stick on who exactly put it together and what methodology was used. I don't know if you have the second video lined up and ready yet. Perfect, perfect. So this next video, pay close attention for our family. Honorable admiration to brothers and sisters on the panel and those that will return. We got Sire, none other than Ty Data himself, and me, Lotus Television, also known as Mahide Barisa Nkwana Tabaka Nguda, also known as Emuna Akadi Adumia Juju, founder of Black Lotus Civilization, where I've done plenty of interviews. So what I want to do is express some very important information about MetaNetter in this next video. My brother Ty Data.
Yeah, he might have walked away from the mic. All right. But yeah, just pretty much piggybacking off of what Lotus was talking about, you know, let's think about the impact that the MetaNetter has done to the Black community. You know, the changing of people's names, the changing of people's speech. You know, that was the power of the MetaNetter, whether if we understood it or not. You know, none of us was really there.
The family had a little technical difficulty.
Okay. Yeah, none of us was really there to do any of the hieroglyphics, any of the paintings on the walls. So this is why the information that Lotus is bringing out is very important. You know, because if you was there painting it, then you pretty much possessed the MetaNetter. So who was writing on the wall? That's my question.
That's a very good question. And only a fool would possess an answer to give. No one knows. And you know what's very interesting about that? Who would know what's going on in my mind, what metaphor I'm creating? I'm going to show something. I'm going to show this again later. Okay, that I myself took it upon myself to create my own symbols in my own language, and I'm displaying them here right now. You will not know. Okay, you would not know what I mean by this symbol. I don't know if the image is clear, or this symbol. Okay, let me get it clear. Okay. The symbols that you see here are symbols that you will not know what they mean without me. Now, pardon the way it looks. I have a horrible injury to the arm, so I don't make things as well as I used to. But without me, if I die right now, and then they find this 2,000 years from now, how would they know what I meant when I'm showing these symbols? How will they know? You know, let me find this other one to show before we this. Hold on. Y'all can see my notes. I got my notes ready. Perfect, perfect. Yeah, man. Okay, let me get the one I'm looking for. Okay, one moment. Let me show the family this real quick. I had it. Okay, look at this. How would one know what I am expressing with these symbols? If I die tomorrow, you will not know what these symbols mean. You would need me to interpret, and the dead don't speak. Like Cairo Born, Rita Eloah expressed in her book as her favorite quote in The History of the Unknown. One would not know what these symbols mean. Now, these are symbols that many might know. You see Sumerian, you see Coptic, and others. What's my other one? You know, you wouldn't know. See, I'm heavy into encryption. I've created my own. Okay, here goes the other one. See, without a cipher key, without a alphabet, one will not know. So you won't know what these are without this.
Yeah, because you made.
What's up there, Shivam?
What's up, bro?
Peace, Shivam.
Yeah.
Peace, Shivam. Yeah, Shivam on the panel now. New face to our brother Chief Holiday's channel. Shivam, before we play the video, would you like to express? You've heard me talk about this meta-netter and all this, you know, the way I feel about it, and my personal opinions, and what someone can research. Can you? Would you mind sharing a little information on how you feel about it, or if you know? I know you probably it's not all that important to you as it is to those.
Yeah, yeah. You say that it's all true, and whatever they're saying is all factual.
That in traditional indigenous Egyptians, what they're saying about the hieroglyphs are all factual. The traditional indigenous Egyptians are the ones who lived in Egypt this whole time. And when you listen to them speak, they will express to you that they call the hieroglyphic symbols what they call it using the language they speak. Majority of them do not speak English. So you will have to know what language they speak. And they speak languages that are very familiar with others. They'll tell you that we call this what we call it, but it is not what the ancient person called it. And that doesn't just go for Egypt, that goes for other stuff. But the topic today is Meta Netter. Now, talking to the people who live in Egypt versus talking to the people who are not from Egypt. And I express this over and over and over again. If you wanted to learn the Japanese language and you go to Japan, are you going to meet up with someone from Germany? And not to focus on a logical fallacy, but just common sense in the area of linguistics and learning a language, because that's when it can only be applied to, because this will be a peer. I want to learn a Japanese language, I'm going to a Japanese. So if you want to learn a language about ancient Egypt, or what the ancient Egyptian person said, you go to an Egyptian. The issue is that in the first video, Ashra Kwesi and Dr. Ben do not give us the clans that live in Egypt. I myself, I had to wait until communicating with people from Egypt in order to learn this. So having a co-host whose brother lives in Egypt, so having a co-host before that who's from Ethiopia, who introduced me to many people from Sudan, and so forth. Bringing it right back to Meta Netter is this. Egyptologists did not approach the elders, the traditional indigenous Egyptian. So they are absolutely false in the way that they research things. We're focusing on the cipher that is used. Now, Ashra Kwesi said, none of them, not one of them, none of them, meaning all of them who have stepped forward, none of them. Now, he said that he thinks none of them, but he said none of them. Keep in mind, not one understands it. Dr. Ben said, when you're speaking it, you're just going chiggada, chiggada, chiggada. That Europeans came in to create a language for them to communicate with each other. Not saying the traditional indigenous Egyptian in Egypt, when Napoleon came in, told them what the hieroglyph means. No, because that did not happen. What exactly happened, you're going to see in these videos to come. In this video that is going to be shown now, will show and prove that foreigners have no idea of what they're talking about. And it goes to also show and prove that we've been misled. The whole world has been misled. Watching these movies, watching The Mummy, watching movies going back as far as we can call it with black and white videos of exactly what they want to connect to a historical event and then use some Meta Netter name. I say it in that sense for a reason, because what name could they have if it's not Meta Netter? And that goes into the Pigpen cipher. What the people who used the Pigpen cipher and created the Pigpen cipher, what they were calling at the time, and when did it receive this change? So Brother Ty Data just wanted to share a little subjective remark. See, she bomb left, so that's one challenger down. Roll it. Play the video. Everyone in the chat, it's gonna be some feather up wing flaps. It's gonna slap a lot of people right off of the platform. So
So without further ado, my brother, I know I'm a short time, but I'll my brother Amo Shango. Give the brother a hand.
That's right. Shalom. Shalom. I appreciate everyone in this room today. Everyone who embraced what we were doing, especially Elder Gabar, Elder Hashar, Elder Natsi Yashubal, Elder Daniela, Elder Zion Lex, Elder Divine Prospect. Because we were doing our radio show, Black Lotus Civilization, reading the evidence and not using bias, but just reading the evidence and pointing out what is being said. And it gained its popularity. As the time went on, when these brothers had the debate, somehow we were contacted. And we contacted our brothers in the Hebrew community. And from the time we contacted them, we were encouraged to build a bridge, a connectivity with members of the African community, which I represent, and the Hebrew Israelite community. And we have put together and working together to create a new environment where we take care of our people first. Melanated people first. No debate. I am not for debate with my Hebrew brothers. I much more prefer that if we are going to discuss differences, we discuss it in private. We don't have to put our information, debating each other, putting on a clown show for the European to see us divided. We can sell our differences in a closed forum. I will tell you what I experienced in business. I used to be a broker for businessmen. And I was shocked because I would find Arab and Jew going and associating with each other to do one major thing: conduct business, enterprise for their people, benefit, or their families. And they would say to each other, you know, I don't like this guy. I can't stand him. But when it comes to money, I am here ready to go. Do you see the difference? But we are driven emotionally by this atmosphere of debate. And it is not conducive in this current time. This man, Nasi Yashuva, when I spoke to him, he went down to Ferguson, and so did Elder Hashar. And many of you joined also. If I didn't mention your name, I'm sorry. I've been communicating with them. But the spirit was to show unity. And they extended and invited members of the conscious community. Where were they? They left them to go without support. Do they love? Do they really love our people? If you called me to go, I would be first with you to go. I don't care about your ideology. Now, this debate, this presentation is what Black Lotus Civilization had gained all sorts of mudslinging, hatred, and challenges about name-calling, critique when there was no critique. We didn't show to the debate, but we are here today. I am here today. I will show you what's in this information, because what's in this information, our people, both sides, have been misled. there's a lot of this boisterism, proud, macho. I know medu netter. You see it on Facebook. You see it in the lectures. But really, and they tell you it's an African language. It is not. I'm going to show you. And I am being chastised and attacked for revealing what Egyptologists themselves say about Egyptology. Not my word, their word. Don't take my word, see the evidence. In the evidence, they are telling you, everyone that put this together were all biblical scholars, Zionist Jews, and they are all controlled by or the Royal Society based in London. Wow. The Royal Society controls every piece of information concerning history and science in the world today.
Wow. That's really
Do you really think that they would break with their control to reveal that Egyptology or Medu Neter is an African language? Who benefits? The Royal Society? Or African people? Or melanated people? That's the question. Please, Elder, if you can. In this intro, Budge intro, if you can read it for me, please.
Sure. It says, Egyptian Hieroglyphic Dictionary with an index of English words, King's List, and geographical list with Arctic, Coptic, and Semitic alphabets, etc.
What did you hear? Semitic. Semitic. Did you hear African?
No.
I don't hear African anywhere there. How is it an African dictionary? Please. Go to the next one, please. Here we have, he pays homage to Birch. Birch. Samuel Birch. I'm going to give you who he is. If you can see, who's the printer of the...
printers in ordinary to His Majesty St. Martin's Lane, London.
London and His Majesty. His Majesty controls all the resources during this time throughout Africa. Are they going to reveal that Egyptian language is African? Let's go to the next one. Okay, if you can read, you have to excuse me, I didn't sleep all night.
That's okay, which one? The one with the red line?
If you can read from the top.
From the top?
Yeah. Okay, maybe if I go back here.
All right. It may be taken for granted that from the time when Arkad Young and Champollion Jeon laid the foundation of the science of Egyptology in the first quarter of the 19th century down to the present day, every serious student of Egyptian text, whether hieroglyphic, hieratic, or demotic, has found it necessary to compile in one form or another his own Egyptian dictionary.
Stop. Mm-hmm. Everyone formed their own Egyptian dictionary. Okay, it's not really so. Go ahead.
In these days, when we have at our disposal the knowledge which has been acquired in the last 100 years by the unceasing toil of the above-mentioned pioneers and their immediate followers, Birch, Lepsius, Brush, Habas, Goodwin, E. de Rogue, and others, we are apt to underrate the difficulties which they met and overcome, as well as to forget how great is the debt which we owe to them. I therefore propose, before passing on to describe the circumstances under which the present Egyptian hieroglyphic dictionary has been produced, to recall briefly the labors of the famous men who have preceded me in the field of Egyptian lexicography, and who were honored in their generations and were the glory of their times. The Abbé J.J. Barthélemy, 1716 to 1795, as far back as 1761, shows satisfactorily that the ovals in Egyptian inscriptions, which we cartouches, contain royal names. Zoega accepted this view and developed and stated that the hieroglyphs in them were alphabetic letters.
Stop right there. I thought that Champollion was the one that discovered what was in the cartouche. As we can see, he usurped the credit from Akhlabad. The scholars that were mentioned are Jewish. That's key. Let's move forward. In the red box on top.
Okay. The Abbe J.J. Barthélemy, 1716 and 1795, as far back as 1761, shows satisfactorily that the ovals in Egyptian or cartouches contain royal names. Zoega, 1756 to 1809, accepted this view, and development it stated that the hieroglyphs in them were alphabetic letters.
There's a reason for this alphabetical interpretation. I'm going to get to it. Let's move forward. One more. The next one.
Next slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Notice in this, you're going to see, notice Budge references Champollion, his demotic alphabet. Demotic. Yeah. Okay. If you could pull it back. Here you see. Okay. If this is alphabetic, roll down the screen. If this is alphabetic, using demotic, why are some of those glyphs not alphabetic? If you look at the glyph that has the image of fire, it has a flame. Go up. Go up. Yeah. Fesi. Pesi, which means to blacken, burn, which means to smoke. That's not alphabetic. Why is it in line with an alphabetic? Okay, this is the deception. They're ascribing alphabetic characters to some signs that are not alphabetic at all. And then they call it a determinative to make clarity to what they're speaking of. If you can move to the next one, please. Wait, move too fast. Go back to the other one. Yeah. Comparison to Medu-Neter, we are supposed to believe that these repetitive signs represent various glyphs. Wait a minute. I thought demotic was alphabetic. Up there you see some of the signs are not alphabetic. You have various bird. The ba bird is not alphabetic. Okay, we can move forward. Notice Budge references Tatum Demotic Compendium once again in his alphabet. How can we alphabet represent so many multiple characters? That's from the previous page. If you can move again. What's next? Okay. If you can read what's in the box there.
Many years in compiling a hieroglyphic dictionary that he had been assisted by his friend Salvador Cherubini, that Charles Lenormand, 1802 to 1859, had helped him in slips, and that Ippolito Rossellini, 1800 to 1843, had made a copy of this dictionary before Champollion set out on his last journey to Egypt.
Stop. How could there be a dictionary before Champollion, who's supposed to be the one who deciphered it?
Wow.
We have a problem here.
Houston, we have a problem.
This is a deception. We have been lied to. How can it be an existing dictionary before the Medu-Neter was even deciphered? This is in Budge's intro to his dictionary. Everyone skips over it and jumps right to the meat of the book. But in the intro is a lot of key things on how this whole thing is a non-factual thing, created and fabricated and handed to us. And we are arguing over this language. Who knows more? Who knows this glyph? Who knows that glyph? Read what's in this box.
Reputation as a comparative philologist. He went to Rome, where he became an intimate friend of Ippolito Rossellini, the Egyptologian friend and traveling companion of Champollion. Champollion. He wrote and published in the Annali del Istituto Archeologico di Roma his famous Lettre et le Professeur Rosalinti sur l'alphabet hieroglyphique. In this letter, which created widespread interest, he succeeded effects of Champollion's development of young system of phonetics and treated the whole question of Egyptian decipherment in such a masterly manner that all adverse criticism of a serious character was silenced once and for all.
Silence. You see that? All criticisms, silence. So if there was anyone speaking against what is done here and now, and notice, Rossellini, where is he from? Please. Rome. Who controls the universities?
Vatican.
They issued a papal bull controlling all universities.
Wow.
Notice, this guy removes Champolion's findings and it takes lead and precedence. And it's controlled in the university in Rome. And even worse, all critiques are silenced. Let's move forward.
Next slide.
We now come to Simeon Levy and the usage of Hebrew to translate Meduneter.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. I am being attacked for giving you this. I'm being criticized for giving you this. Keep it in mind. Does the Afrocentric community love Africa so much? If Hebrew and Christians control the decipherment of what is supposedly an African language, and I took the time to reveal it to an Afrocentric community, should I be hated and attacked?
No.
When the simple call is, can we go and redo this study? Us, all together. There are 42 nomes in each. Of the 42 nomes, the 42 languages, 42 cultures. Who says that the Hebrews was not occupying one of the nomes? Did anyone ever think about that possibility? Has it ever been researched? No. Of the 42 nomes, no one writes about it. Of the languages of the 42 nomes, or what is described as what's going on in the 42 nomes, no one ever touched on it. But we will get there one day. Please, if you can read that, Elder.
Simeon Levy's Vocabulario Hieroglyphico Copto. For a few years after the appearance of the last volume of Brush's Wurzburg in 1882, no attempt was made to publish in a collected form the lexicographical material that could be collected from the editions of hitherto unpublished texts, which were appearing frequently in England, France, Germany, Russia, and Italy. But meanwhile, this material was being diligently collected by one scholar at least, who was dissatisfied with the existing Egyptian dictionaries and was determined to publish a new one. This was Simeon Levy.
Stop. Okay. Simeon Levy. Do you hear the name? How much more does play in the decipherment and the compiling of the Egyptian hieroglyphic dictionaries that we have today? Make note. This name, Simeon Levy. Okay? And he is the one, after the silencing, does what? Comes together and compiles the new format. Please continue, Elder.
All right. an Italian Egyptologist who was well known for the very useful list of hieratic characters, which he published in 1880 under the title of Pa, Atak, or and Metchut. And there's a hieroglyphic there. The Great Sea of Words.
Atak, Metchut.
Okay. He began to publish a Coptic Hebrew hieroglyphic vocabulary with translations of the hieroglyphic words in Italian and numerous quotations of Coptic and Hebrew words, which he held to be cognate to the ancient Egyptian words. In 1894, in a very closely written preface, which fills 30 pages, Signor Levy discusses the grammar and the structure of the ancient Egyptian language, which he treats as though the speech that is revealed to us by the hieroglyphic, hieratic, and demotic text belonged to the Semitic family of languages. It was a mistake on his part to do this. Okay.
Repeat that, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Repeat that. I want this to sink in. Repeat that.
Which he treats as though the speech that is revealed to us by the hieroglyphic, hieratic, and demotic text belonged to the Semitic family of languages.
You see what he's saying? You see what he says. Okay? Watch as we go along.
It was a mistake on his part to do this, for he assumed to be a fact that which has never been proved. To him, Egyptian, Coptic, and Hebrew are substantially forms of one and the same language. He adopted an unusual arrangement of the alphabet, placing the H and the H after text, which is that snake thing, and T, which is the pound or that symbol there. You can help me out with that, Elder. Digit. And T after sh and ka, and it says
and sh. Then
and at the end of the alphabet, etc. Thus, the arrangement and the values of the letters of his alphabet are as follows.
Take a look. This is the alphabet that you see in Egyptian dictionaries. What are the equivalent sounds ascribed to each glyph? Please, just take a look. I want it to soak in. And now you understand why when you buy an Egyptian grammar book or you buy an Egyptian language book, why is Hebrew there? Why is the Hebrew used as a reference? This is done liberally at the time. Simeon Levi. And Bruch, a German Jew, Semitic scholar. You're going to see further on when we move. We'll get to Bruch. Please move to the next slide, Elder. We shall see that Budge contradicts his statements as we continue. Now, he states that Egyptian language is one and the same with Semitic. Then he's going to contradict, only to come back again. Please, if you can go to the next. In that box there. Yeah.
In the first of these, the writer, an Egyptica Leipzig, has treated the geography of Egypt and her colonies historically and chronologically, and has grouped in a clear and systematic manner all the facts that were available at the time when he wrote the book. In the second, the author collected a mass of material of the utmost importance for the student of Egyptian geography and philology, right? His book is really of value because he possessed a good working knowledge of Hebrew and other Semitic dialects.
Again, Hebrew and Semitic dialects being used. Another play on the stage. Okay.
And was able to use it authoritatively in dealing with Egyptian forms of Semitic words and place names. Every Egyptologist must lament the untimely death of this sound scholar. I have also obtained much help in identifying the original names of Syrian and Palestinian places mentioned in Egyptian texts. Nuns, Mana, Tefeln, Leipzig, 1907, and Winkler's complete edition of the text from the Tal al-Amarna tablets. Whenever possible, I have added the cuneiform originals in the Egyptian geographical list from the Tal al-Amarna tablets and from the historical inscriptions of the kings of the later Assyrian empires which flourished between 1350 and 620 BCE.
See what's being said. Cuneiform references, Semitic place name references, Leipzig and Winkler. Where are they from? Germany. Who are they? Jews. What are they using? Hebrew and other Semitic languages. Okay? Let's move forward, please. Okay. Budge is going to biasly affirm using the Journal of Biblical Society of Archaeology and Egyptian words used in Coptic, Bible, and what do we have here?
Patristic
literature, even usage of, and then N comes from the Coptic in Deuteronomy. Those boxes in red, and here will reveal what I just stated there. Take time with me, please, if you can read.
Read it, okay?
Yes, please.
All right, I decided that many references to the older printed literature must be cut out, and only a limited number to recent publications omitted. Further, it was clear that the names of the authors and their papers printed in the Ruelle des Travaux, the Transcentations and Proceedings of the Society of Biblical Archaeology, the Archaeologia of the Society of Antiquaries of London.
One stop. Do you see what's happening again? The Biblical Archaeological Society is controlling and determining what goes on in the decipherment of this language. Okay, please, if you could go to the next.
I'll read the next portion.
Yeah.
Following the meaning of the word, and at the end of the entry is often given the equivalent of an Egyptian word in the latest stage of the language. I'm Coptic. And so in these equivalents, I have a Coptic dictionary, but have satisfied myself that they bear the meaning which the Egyptian words have in passages in the Coptic versions of the Bible. And in Coptic patristic literature generally, great corpus of the Coptic words under which Mr. W.E. Crum has been at work for so many years been available, the number of Coptic equivalents quoted in this dictionary will probably have been quadrupled. The Hebrew, Syriac, Arabic, and other Semitic words quoted in the entry stand in a different relationship to the Egyptian, for they merely represent borrowings of words, usually by the Egyptians from the Semites, while words are native Egyptian. They seem to me to stand in quite a different category from the pronouns which were borrowed at a very early period by the Egyptians from the people whom, for one better name, we call Proto-Semites. Okay. It says, it gives you a couple of glyphs and it says be pronounced. In transliterating, I have written N or Ne, and there is a good authority for doing so, namely, most ancient Coptic papyrus, Codex of the Book of Deuteronomy, and the Acts of the Apostles.
Okay. If we go up here, Budge references Bruch, again, Ehrman, two German Jews, usage of Hebrew. Ehrman introduces a new alphabetical character and using Yod, the Hebrew character Yod. If you can see that box, if you could bring it down. This is when they added Yod in their compilation of Hebrew sounds. If you go up, you pull this one up. So although Budge criticized the usage of Semitic, he also says in the book, yeah, you can see there, you can see the Hebrew being used extensively in the compilation of the decipherment of Medu Neter.
Wow. Now,
Medu in Yiddish and German means something sweet.
What?
How did we get into becoming words, Neter, words of the gods? How did this German word creep in? Okay. If you bring up the criticisms, number one, the one that's not numbered.
In 1870, Academy, one of Britain's leading journals of high culture, an oracular statement from one of Europe's men influential scholars, Ernst Renan. This read, a curious phenomenon is just now taking place in criticism. Egypt will soon be a beacon midst of the deep night of high authority. Renan's proclamation does not accord with our received understanding of the history of Egyptology. It seems to come either too late or too early. It was issued a century after the hieroglyphs were deciphered, and still longer after the centuries of mystery that coalesced around Egypt's monuments had begun to be dispelled by the celebrated efforts of Napoleon's servants and their British, German, and Italian rivals. Three figures had brought Egypt tangibly and vividly into the realm of European culture, so that by 1874, the civilization was surely already a standing beacon, like at the darkest extremities of historical time. On the other hand, it seems too early because it is the only long after Roman that another great event, the discovery of Tuckanutton's tomb in 1922, raised interest in Egypt to a fever pitch comparable to that of the age of Napoleon and the Rosetta Stone. All right. It says Egyptologists found ways to communicate directly with the public and began to gain sustained interest and support from numerous reading Britons. Most importantly of all, it was in these late 19th century decades that the development meanings of ancient Egypt began to be noted deep into the British culture through the association with issues as culturally provocative as the nature of the Old Testament, the cultural status of classical literature, and the viability of evolution, Darwinism, and otherwise. Such great discoveries, such as the Rosetta Stone and King Tut's iconic death, marked gain all the Egyptological headlines, but it was in the flashpoints that imagery of ancient Egypt was developed and redeveloped, and the forms of the purposes of Egypt was developed and redeveloped.
Notice it says develop and redevelop, develop and redevelop, and who's developing is the Academy in London. And also, British values are in the interpretation of what is going to become Egyptology. That means it's written with a bias. That means it's written not from an indigenous perspective. No one was ever consulted on the Nile when they compiled this. If you can go, let me see, is it here? The next one will highlight.
Next one?
Yeah.
It's number 3.
Yeah. Now, Renan was supposed to be the greatest thinker at that time, and he expected that Egypt was going to be some great beacon of light in scholarly pursuits. But as we see here, not the case. As mentioned on the first reading, please.
Historical entries like Renan saw the Old Testament as an anthology of ancient Near Eastern literature that could only be understood through meticulous scholarly reconstruction of the cultures in which it had been composed. The new Egyptology, they felt, would exist in undermining the Bible's claim to literal historical truth and would help to reveal its nature as the product of human authors who employed mythological means to impose order on the convoluted reality of the Hebrew national past. In fact, the Egyptology that quickly coalesced after 1874 ran exactly counter to these expectations. In the hands of some Egyptologists, greatest luminaries, including William Matthew Flinders Petrie, the disciple became a powerful tool in a broad fight back of popular religion against the elite criticism championed by figures like Renan. Egyptology seemed to present proofs of the Bible so influential that the family of the Archbishop of Canterbury named their cat Ra in its honor. His devout daughter wrote of confessing sins to the Sphinx, and dozens of popular pamphlets were issued claiming the excavators had discredited the authors of secularist tracts with titles like Moses Demolished and Moses Defied by History.
You see what's happening? This is the last minute. That's the last minute. One more minute. Can you go to the next one? Criticism 4. Now, this is higher criticisms of intellectuals that put together Egyptology during the late 1800s. Okay.
However, it is one of the many important and surprising features of Egyptology's history that between these two periods of scholarly and popular disengagement, a different set of relationships prevailed. In the closing decades of the 19th century, what we might loosely term public and scholarly interest came to coincide much more closely than at any other time in modern history. The Egyptological community began to address its works and the church and chapel-going English people, and to conceive its purpose as a missionary endeavor to show the public faith in the Bible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Give the brother a hand. Give the brother a hand who is coming objectively, okay, and teaching the truth. Showing us that we're not making things up. So we're going to give Brother Shambo a warm applause and thank you for coming and sharing this information. So give the Most High a hand for that. Okay.
Okay. Oh, okay. Perfect. It's kind of loud where I'm at. All right, welcome back. What you heard there was none other than my old co-host, Omo Shongo, in 2015 after the Kimidon trial. It's just to go and show that we have put an end to Meta Netter, and it completely exposed Meta Netter with its Jesuit, German, Hermetic, Crateropoan, Royal Society connections, and all. That video has been out for 3 years, and the reason why most of you might not have heard of it is because those who oppose have no rebuttal. We have not received any rebuttal. We get remarks from such people such as NBK is, "Are you on drugs?" See, most people will say, "Are you still talking about that?" They cannot provide a rebuttal to show and prove that the Pan-African Afrocentric Kemetic community run around saying that they're speaking this language when it comes from Germans and Jews. There's nothing else to be said. Yes. Well, it's called Yiddish because the people who translated the hieroglyph, you have to go by the accent that they speak. So the people who put it together, they have an accent. So when we speak this Meta Netter, we're going to have to use the accent of the people who translated it. It's pretty simple, but let's dig into this linguistically. You have a people in Egypt. They have an accent. They have a language. They are the people who lived there in 1798, before 1798, and after 1798. We need to listen to them speak. More importantly, communicate with them to hear how they speak. in a short moment, I'm going to show you some information from their language, and that we have a discrepancy added on language created by them that is called Coptic, and we'll be saving Coptic for another day. We're just going to deal with MetaNet right now. Now, Brother Ty Data, when I spoke on someone speaking Japanese and me learning Japanese, excuse me if I'm too close, learning Japanese, you want to learn it from a Japanese person so you can know how to use the right accent when you are speaking a language. In 9th grade, I took French. The first thing they taught us was the position of your tongue, your teeth, and your mouth, your cheek, and your jaw as you speak to make the proper accent of the language. Here it goes. When you do not do that, you are a pseudo-linguist. And when you apply that pseudo-linguistic methodology to an ancient language, you become a pseudo-scientific language comparison. Ty Gator, give me one moment. One moment. Perfect. Let's play this short commercial for the family. Oh yes, here we go. Now here I'm in this video, you're going to see some of the information that I was supposed to present in the Passover, that Omoshongo, presented his presentation on MetaNetter and the connection that it has to Jews, the hidden connection that it has with the Ashkenazi, the Khazarians. The information I was going to bring was going to dig into that and take it even further back, which I have been releasing lately. So in this video, you are going to see images from the work, and it should be similar because these are some of the images that you just witnessed in the video with Omoshongo from Cameroon, by the way, not from America, from Cameroon, like MBK and Dagger Squad members, born in America and in the islands, not on the continent misnomered as Africa.
Make the ground shake.
Ancient alphabets and hieroglyphic characters explained. Perfect timing too. All right. Now that was a video just to show that I didn't have to say a word, that you could read the information for yourself. So that gives the reader the power himself to take it upon himself and research the names and do a fact check. Make sure it actually is verified. That this is not something that me and Omo Shongo just made up. Now, if we didn't show you this and we just said these things, you would be left with a lot of questions. So I made it simple as possible for the family. Before I go in on showing these images and talking about their accents, any other questions, Brother Tadej? Or any from the chat? I would say post the link in the chat, but we don't want anyone hopping on this, got ill intent. Okay. Yeah, because I want to open it up as I go in on showing these symbols and explaining some things by, using the languages spoken in Egypt. There are languages spoken in Egypt, languages that had their own symbols and alphabets. But I will focus on the ones that are still in Egypt and the ones that are in Sudan, by also taking the sounds from their language and seeing exactly what it would be if it was applied to an alphabet. Now, bear with me. My writing is not as perfect as many. Show my injury as well. But excuses are excuses. So I made the symbols to the best of my ability to show that there's a language spoken in northern Egypt that has its own writing characters, and it has no mention of Greek or Coptic again. No mention of Greek or Coptic, but you will find the symbols used in both in this alphabet. And I'll take it a step further. With no being, Okay, let me show this. Now here, you can see this image. Let me make sure it's clear. You can see this image. Also, apologies. Once I have the top back, and we'll be in a desk setting, a proper setting, you'll be able to see this a lot better. But here is Siwi, the language that also has Kabayil, Tamashek, Gadames, Gohod Mara, and Siwi. And as you can hear, my accent is slowly turning into the accent spoken by the people there. And you can connect it to spoken Arabic, which is, you can connect it to Bidawi. Bidawi is another language that we'll deal with. But let's get to the point here before we look at these symbols. Here you have the language, the same language as you just saw. You have the letter A. Since we're dealing with letters, again, this is a cipher methodology that was used. So you have A, D, F, G, I, J, K, then the K at the end, N, S, T, and T at the end, and U. And you know what's very interesting? You will find that this matches what they used in the so-called metanetter. This raises a lot of questions because they have their own symbols and alphabet. And they write their symbols and they can read them from right to left to right, from bottom to top or top to bottom. By researching the Tamazight alphabet and language, you will find this information easily obtainable by anyone who is a linguistic scholar. Now, I went a little further and I put, let me get as steady as possible. And I used as much of the alphabet that was comprised by Egyptologists. And I wanted to find any type of connection to show that they use languages from all over. They use sounds from all over, but they did not ask the people what they actually call the hieroglyph, the pictorial image. What they did was they asked the people what de, fa, ga, I, je, ka, or with ka, or ik, in, sa, ta, u. They asked them what that sound means. And then said that, well, the hieroglyph is that letter, and we're going to put this to that hieroglyph. So this is the problem that you will run into with the Kemetic community, because they won't tell you exactly what I just told you. This is Edwi Nya Tamazig. And then you see what can be closely connected down here. The A through D, the eagle is Albaz. The hand is Afus. So the hand is not duh. Okay? The eagle, which would be often translated as or as you heard one of the Kemetic elders say, like an actual bird sound, Unfudishi, or it might be the other one, Baba. That's right, Baba. But you see here, G, the table or libation vase or table, Almida. The feathers, Rish. K as in the bowl and handle. J has a question mark. Surface of water. See how it's just translated to English? No quite correct connection. The cane, coat rack, hanger. The loaf of bread. And the chicken or cord. So you bring this back up and you'll find that it does not match the hieroglyphs. Does not match. So they're taking sounds from the people from these areas, but they're not using the language to describe the actual pictorial image. So here you have another one. Tu Bidawiye, also known as Beja or Bishar. Here you have A being the imperative, at the end suffix, and A as suffix as well. D or da being the pot receptacle, do, make, ha being alcoholic drink of any sort, E, come, K, where is to be found, or ka, where is to be found, L or l, oil obtained from butter, ma, like mayat means woman, O, the, or at the end his and suffix. You have the r as in well. The sh or the sa is in meat, cow, or urine. Sh will pertain to something that is urine, or sa. T at the end is the suffix, and you have u. So, I don't show this as much as I probably should, because it's showing that I've put in some time to really try and match what's going on. So at the end, you'll see I'll have to start over with the eagle. Eagle, hand and arm. It's not it's Gwynhil, Gwynhal, Gulnin. And I can use the Sudan accent, which would be Gwynhil, Gwynhal, Gulnin. Notice I changed my accent in order to pronounce these words. When it comes back to it being a German, putting together the meta-netter, you're going to have to use a German accent. If the person was French, you would have to pronounce it with a French accent. If they're from Japan, a Japan accent. You name it, that accent is what you will use, because that is the translator. That is the person that is putting the work together. So you have the rope, which is not the letter H or H. It's lul or lil. You have the feathers, which is ambir or ambir. You have bull, which is dan. You don't quite pronounce the A. Dan. You have the lion, which is hatta. They don't call a person a sheik. They're called hatta. You have the owl, which happens to be 3 different sounds. Koteb, bi, or bi, bi. You have the cord, which is also the same as the rope, lil. You have the mouth, which they'll say is ra, as in well, which doesn't match mouth as well, which is many. You have yefa, yef, yaf, yef, dahalo, yafro, and afa. You have the cane, coat hanger, silkwab, fork. You have loaf of bread, sansenya, kishra. And you have the chicken, which is kilail or kile. That is to show just 2 of the languages in Egypt spoken when Napoleon came in, when Athanasius Kircher came in. These are the languages that were spoken. Now let's take a step back to this. Let's take a step back to Siwi. Siwi is spoken in the Siwa Oasis today, not too far from the Kwara Oasis today. You can watch videos on YouTube of the people and listen to them speak. As well as in the Beja, there are hundreds of videos that you can watch and hear them speak and know exactly how they greet each other. They do not say Hotep. They say Azul, hello. And the response is Azul, Felawin. Come in, came. Now you're going to say, is that came it? But it's came it, come in, lady. We cannot do that because they have symbols right here. It's not the so-called crocodile tail and owl. It's these symbols. All right, what was that type, Brother Tide? Okay. Okay. You see it? Okay. So you can see here the translation, the English and the you know, how you say it, what you're saying in English. You have the way it's being said in Shilan and Al-Siwan. You will find the other languages connected to it, which is the Tuareg. And it's already spoken Gadames, Siwi. And I have on another page where people say Tamahu. I can show you that that's just a bad pronunciation of the word that comes from the Siwi language. You know what else is important? Notice I've shown that the language has a connection, and I can also present the PDF on further videos to show that they actually got the sounds from these languages and called it Coptic. And this is not Coptic. This is Tafina. The Egyptologists and chematologists, brothers and sisters, have ignored this. And when we interviewed Jabari, well, when Lex Vortex interviewed Jabari, he had no knowledge after being to Egypt as long as he has. He had no knowledge of Tafina. He had knowledge of them being ignored, but never took the time to learn the culture. I had the privilege of living with someone who knew this alphabet, knows this alphabet, and speaks this language by the name of Rita Elowa when I started my blog talk show, Black Lotus Civilization. So here you can see further into an alphabet. They don't call this Ra. It's called Yas. Not Ra, Yas. So this is to show that there's been a deception. They've been misled again. And as you heard Omoshongo say in the video earlier, we have been deceived. when are we going to take time to do this? Well, at that time, I was already I already started to comprise these notes. I already put in the research on Publishing History Hieroglyphica that they did not call these hieroglyphs letters until, as you saw in the video recently, until J.J. Bartholomew and George Zoega. And they're connected to the Jesuits, the Royal Society, Germans, Yiddish speaking, Yiddish accent, Danish, Scandinavian, all connected up there, not from Egypt. Excuse me as I show this. Let me hop off this for a moment. Now, I don't know if you want to post the link. Anybody wants to come in, have a short discussion going on this, because I know it's late in the evening. Anyone wants to share any information, proper rebuttal. We had Shivam on earlier, who I had to remove Shivam because he was being disingenuous when asked a question about what did I talk about and how I felt and what did I say. He said that the Egyptologists are correct. So, we need someone who's genuine to have this discussion on this subject. Unfortunately, it's late, so what I would do is we will continue to talk about this subject as we carry on Wednesdays and Saturdays. But for this time being right now, when you think of a pictorial image, think of this. If you made this symbol, what would you want the person to interpret when they see that symbol? Excuse me. And that's when it comes into the Pigpen cipher. Pigpen cipher shows a methodology where they take an alphabet and they connect that alphabet to the letter, and they remove that alphabet and they use the Pigpen. This is the same methodology they use putting together what is now called Meta-Netter. The connection is they are the same groups, the same organizations. They're Rosicrucians, they're Orientalists. These are the ones who provided the PhD work that J.J. Bartholomew followed and Zoega. As mentioned by Omoshongo, it's controlled by the Royal Society. And Brother Ty Data, any other questions in the chat? I can't hop in the chat right now. Yes, definitely. Definitely about to drop this last video. It's going to be quick, catch it. These images that you'll be seeing will go further in. Yes. Okay. Absolutely. So what exactly is Meta-Netter? And I'll give the best, well, what I can say, that these are spells, magical spells. If you look into the Heka, it's these words of power that bring things into existence. So when a person has taken this symbol and they're identifying, when they're taking the symbol, the pictorial image, as like they call Heka is they'll call it the rope, the bow and handle over the hand and arm. Heka, they'll translate it to mean words of power. HKA. And sometimes they'll add a HEKA. They'll add a noun into it. Heka Ururez or Heka Ururez is a title. Words of power, rising to the head, or whichever way they want to translate it. So what happens is you really can't speak it, as Dr. Ben said, because these are symbols. No one is speaking in I mean, just think of it like this. If you're telling someone words of power, right? And then they go look at the symbols you're using, a rope, a bowl and handle, and a hand and arm, what does that have to do with words of power? And that's when a person has to use their imagination. You're not going to use what the person who made the hieroglyphs said. You're going to use your imagination. Heka, they'll say, means words of power. There's a story that you'll find in E.A. Wallace Budge where a person performed a ritual of cutting off a chicken. You know, excuse me if it's a different bird, but, you know, a chicken. And they performed the ritual. The Heka was mentioned in this, and it brought the bird's head back to the bird's body, and the bird continued to live after having its head separated from his body. Excuse me. So when you look into Kabbalah, as we went over last time with the Pigpen cipher, it is connected to words of power, bringing words into power. When you look into the Rosicrucian, it's about the magical spells, which even takes a step further down to Aleister Crowley, the Thelema Society. You'll find that it's occultic and ritualistic when it comes to Corpus Hermeticum. You'll find the Jesuit spiritual connection when you deal with the Jesuits. And we have someone hop in. Brother Carl, greetings. He goes out this paper. The Corpus Hermeticum, which ties into Krateropoa, which brings the spirituality and the priest system into it. So I'm not trying to knock it down. What we're doing is revealing where it comes from. What's the empirical data to it? What's its origins? Who put it together? So you have this tied into linguistics of spirituality, occult culture coming from Knights Templars, Jesuits, Royal Society, and the interpretation of what they want you to believe, the sounds you're making when you're looking at these pictorial images. They want you to say Heru, and then they're going to express to you what Heru means. It's a hawk, so they're going to, you know, this warrior spirit. And then they'll go into the diatribe of the story of Heru. They can't give you a clear definition, but when you look at the hieroglyph for Heru, it's going to be a rope, a mouth over a chicken. So you're going to have to ask yourself, so how does a rope, the mouth over a chicken, represent a hawk, or the attributes that I can zoologically, zoomorphological, excuse me, you know, messing up the word, you know, express it to mean what the Rosicrucian will say, what a Freemason will say, what a Mason will say, what Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, person that's a part of the Ordo Templi Astarte, the Ordo Templi Orientis, a Krateropoan. What they will express it to mean in those sounds is what we're going to have to use. If somebody in the Kemetic community deviates from that, they're being pseudo. And, you know, in order to say it, by the scholastic terminology, we'll have to use the word pseudo, because they're not giving us the proper definition of the pictorial image and how it connects to the determinative pictorial image. But we can see that it was put together and expressed that hieroglyphs are letters from J.J. Bartholomew and Zoega, and the help of Krateropoa and Rosicrucians, making this a magical thing. So that's why you see people with the Heru shirts and the ox, and they're saying, this is giving me spiritual power. I'm in tune to the ancestor. Black woman is God. Setepin, Ra, Mary, Amen, and all this other type of stuff. Get in tune with your ancestors by learning this. Learn the Meta Netter, as Ashra Kwesi said, but at the same time says that none of them understood the true meaning of Meta Netter. When you take it, absolutely. That's what I was about to get at. That when you take it to Edwinya, when you take that to Bidawiyet, you run into problems. Some of the words mean very, very negative things. That's what I want to go into next. Start really pulling out the words out of these languages that are spoken in Egypt and find out what it says. Because when you look up nu, which they'll say is the counter part or the male version of nut, they'll say it's nu, but then they put out the attributes of the 9, which ties back into Kabbalistic stuff because they got the Kabbalah connected to the 9 and the 10. You'll find that nu means curse. Ka mean where is to be found. So that if something where is to be found, mean you do not know where it is. You are looking for it. It's a negative. It's not a positive. When you look into ba, you're gonna run into the same situation. Yes, we can hear you, brother Carl. Peace, brother.
Oh,
Welcome
okay.
to the
Peace,
panel.
peace, y'all. Peace, peace. Thank you.
Yeah, you in here.
Yes, sir, in the flesh. I hear you
That's
breaking
right.
it down.
Yeah, it's been some time, since I've really dug this deep or expressed and shared this information. In fact, I've talked about it so much. There's so many more videos that are on my channel that talk about this. That I'm trying
I will be
to.
checking out those videos.
Yeah, definitely check them out. It's a roller coaster ride. I'll tell you this now. I have over 50 videos about this subject.
Who else is up on here? I see Chief here.
Yeah,
I thought I heard TY.
Yes. Only we can hear Brother Ty did.
Oh, this is live?
Yes, yeah, we live.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Yeah, the focus is Meta. There was also a question that was put out that what is the connection with Meta and Pigpen cipher, and I want to express that again. Oh, I left. Good thing. MBK put out, so okay, I'll put out an apology if I took a shot at MBK earlier. MBK, if you're listening, man, hop on the panel, man. You know you want to do it. Okay, she Bomb's upset about something. Okay, let me pull this up and express again about Pigpen cipher. And there's a point to be seen here. These are the keys to it. The Pigpen cipher, alternately referred to as Masonic cipher, Freemason cipher, Napoleon cipher. And we all know who it was in the Battle of Pyramids who went into Egypt and attacked Egypt, who brought the soldier who supposedly found the Rosetta Stone, which people in Egypt today say is a fake. But you go to France, they have over 20 copies of it. That's Napoleon. He has his own cipher. Then we have the tic-tac-toe cipher, which uses the grid that's like the video, I mean, not the video, but the game we played with the X's and O's, tic-tac-toe. What's after that is it's a geometric simple substitution. Now, I read just one paragraph of that last time. So again, in cryptography, a substitution cipher is a method of encrypting by which units of plain text are replaced with ciphertext. Again, encrypting is the methodology of encrypting by which units of plain text are replaced with ciphertext. They replace the pictorial images with letters using the methodology here because this is what a cryptoanalyst does. This is what a person does that is deciphering a code. So according to a fixed symbol, the units may be single letters. This is giving details to how hieroglyphs get their letters. The most common pairs of letters, triplets of letters, mixture of the above, and so forth. The receiver deciphers the text by performing the inverse substitution. Inverse would be to reduce which actually connects to what the cipher means. The cipher is to reduce to zero. Substitution cipher can be compared with transposition ciphers. In a transposition cipher, the units of the plain text are rearranged in a different and usually quite complex order, but the units themselves are left unchanged. By contrast, in a substitution cipher, the units of a plain text, of the plain text are retained in the same sequence in the cipher text, but the units themselves are altered. So the focus here is there's a simple substitution cipher, a polygraphic monoalphabetic cipher, and a polyalphabetic cipher. This gets real deep because we even have what is called the Caesar cipher, type of substitution cipher, excuse me, in ROT 1-3, ROT 13, the alphabet is rotated 13 steps. Those are showing that there are all kinds of forms of cipher. Substitution of single letters separately, single substitution, can be demonstrated by writing out the alphabet in order to represent the substitution. This is termed a substitution alphabet. The cipher alphabet may be shifted or reversed, creating the Caesar and Atbash ciphers, respectively. So if you are one of the Hebrew brothers or sisters, you definitely would know what the Atbash cipher pertains to, which will also be saved for another day as we go in on it, how they used Hebrew and connected it to the metanetter. This is where you will find it. So let's continue. Or scrambled in a more complex fashion, in which case it is called a mixed alphabet or deranged alphabet. Traditionally, mixed alphabets may be created by first writing out a keyword, removing repeated letters in it, then writing all the remaining letters in the alphabet in the usual order. So it goes and shows different ways that they use this and how they create alphabets where it's not quite abecedary. That means it's not following A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P in that order. That's why when you saw the Hebrew alphabet being created by Simeon Levi, it's not in perfect order. And there was another alphabet that was presented where it's not in perfect order. They are using this methodology. And that's when it becomes the ciphertext alphabet is sometimes different from the plain text alphabet. For example, in the Pigpen cipher, the ciphertext consists of a set of symbols derived from a grid, for example. So all they did was take these hieroglyphs, put it on there, make copies of them, write it on a paper, make a grid, and apply the methodology to it. That's why it's important to understand the security for simple substitution ciphers. Now, I don't want to get all too heavy into this because then it will start sounding like we're in a university setting and all that. And then I'll get into that. Y'all might have to pay me because I'm coming at you like a professor. But anyway, so I'll step away from that into the security where the use of symbols instead of letters is no impediment to cryptoanalysts. So then we have to get into what cryptoanalysis is, as it was mentioned before in the issue with Pigpen cipher. And the system is identical to that of the simple monoalphabetic substitution schemes. So these are the schemes. This is the misleading methodology used to substantiate their stuff scholastically because they had to have something that they base it upon. That's why when you look up J.J. Bartholomew and George Zoega, you're not going to get we use this cipher because it's already known what they used because they had to go to the Rosicrucians. They had to deal with the Hermetics. They had to deal with those in control of Egypt at that time. That means they had to deal with Napoleon with the Napoleon cipher. Then they had their own forms of cipher because they were in competition with each other. All three groups in competition with each other, supposedly fighting each other. The Italians, the British, and the French, all using the same cipher methodology. And that's why it's important when you deal with the history or the origin of Pigpen cipher, which connects to how they put this metanetter together. Cornelius Agrippa has his description of calling it the Rosicrucian cipher tied into the Kabbalah in his book, The 3 Books of Occult Philosophy. And, you know, that would just be expressing the same thing over and over again. So let me go further to say this. It's like this. We can use the language we speak right now, the English language, and describe the hieroglyph. Instead of calling it eye, we'll call it the hand and arm, the eagle. Instead of calling it the foot and leg, instead of calling it buh, we'll call it the foot and leg. Instead of calling it duh, we'll call it the hand, and so on and so forth. It's simple as that we don't know exactly what the person expressed when they made these hieroglyphs. And I'm yet to find anyone bold enough to say that they knew exactly what the person expressed when they made this hieroglyph. You run into the issue where they'll say you're giving Europeans too much credit and too much power. Well, if you go back in 10 minutes, you'll see that I showed that they actually confronted people in Egypt and asked them what the sound is in their language, and then told them this is the hieroglyph right here. Okay, this is what that is. They didn't ask the person, what do you call this hieroglyph? They told the person that they're calling this hieroglyph this sound, and the people told them in their language, this is what that sound means. I like to say it 3 times so it can be clear as possible. You have a foreign people. They come into a land of people who they do not know, speak a language that they do not speak. They're pointing at a hieroglyph and they're asking them, what is this hieroglyph? They're telling them what they call that hieroglyph in their language. They're not telling us what the people who lived there called the actual hieroglyph in their language. They came with a preconceived notion that that hieroglyph represents a single sound. Before that, Athanasius Kircher said a single hieroglyph represented a word. And it's getting late. I have so much more to go, so I will shorten that up and conversate with our good brother Carl. Good brother Carl still on the panel. Oh man, I'm out of it. Come on.
Peace, peace. I'm here.
Peace. I don't know. Whenever I get go into something else, it's been shutting me out and then causing me to drop.
Yeah, okay. My microphone acting up back here also.
Okay. Yeah, brother Carl, it's been an issue because what I did was I presented brothers and sisters from the continent misnomered as Africa, from all over Africa. Now, I can call it by the name that the people who I communicated with call it. Many of them call it Malambo. Many call it Oganda, Ugwe Oganda. Might get something to say Kumasi. Might get something to say Ile-Ife. Or further south, Mwene Matapa, Mwene Manuba, Ugwe Oganda in Ethiopia. Ethiopia's real name Tobias. No matter which area you go to, it's going to be a different word that's attached, connected to a specific clan and what they describe the land as. So if a person says that this hieroglyph says that this land is this, then we'll have a lot of problems, because then we'll ask the people in that area, what do you call this land? And it never matches to what they translate the hieroglyph. So it's saying it's Kemet or Ta Mary, Ta Netaru, Ta Nahisi, Ta Seti, or Punt, or any of those names. The people in those areas will not call that landmass those names. And in fact, Egypt, in the language that's Tubidawiyet, is called relief. In Edwinya, which is Siwi, they'll say Misirif. Now I can connect that, Misirif, but they don't use that F sound, silent. So it's just Misirif, Misirif. in Tubidawiyet, it's Rif. But in Meta Netter, they'll say it's Kemet. See. In Meta Netter, they'll say it's Kemet. And then you go to the Tubidawiyet language, they're going to tell you that when you say Kemet, you're saying wrap something around your throat. When you say, yeah, Kim means to tie something around, eat means your neck and your throat, and Tubidawiyet. So when you say Kimit, you're saying wrap something around your throat. Hang yourself.
That's very interesting.
And this is in it's very demonic, because then it gets into some fictitious sexual disorders. You know, I won't go into much detail about that, but even what they say, okay, it's not Kemet, because they can't interject the A into that, because like Dr. Ben said, the Europeans put nouns in so they could communicate with each other. So if you just say kam in Tubidawiyet means camel. Kam in Nobin means camel. Kam in Matoki means camel. Kam in other languages connected to Luo, Dinka, Newer, in other languages in that area will also mean kam or gam for camel. Kanuzi, camel, if you say kam. So are you going to say you come from a place where you're hanging yourself by the throat? Or a camel? You come from a camel's, and I'll put a little joke in where you come from a camel's nutsack. So it's like, what's going on here with these words that they're using to call themselves? You know, what is it really saying? What are they really saying? And when you put it together, when you take these hieroglyphs and you try and put them together in a sentence, it will match no language nowhere on the planet. But then if you just put it as one sound, it can match languages all over. You can remove the misnomer continent of Africa and say it's connected to a language on Easter Island. It's connected to Australian languages. Because these are sounds, these are words. You can tie these words into anything. And that's when it falls into what's called pseudoscientific language comparison. Pseudolinguists, which the top of the list of the pseudolinguists of the world today, you will find Jean-Claude Mboli, Theophile Obenga, and Sheikh Anta Diop. When you look into and you talk to the Pan-Africans, the Afrocentrics, the members of the Amun-Ra squad, and the other ones that are following them, if you ask them who is the linguists who they follow dealing with the translations, they're going to tell you Jean-Claude Mboli, Theophile Obenga, and Sheikh Anta Diop. In the Tubidawiyet language, Amun-Ra means behold an antelope. Behold a antelope.
Serious?
That's right. In Tubidawiyet. That's right. The antelope. Like, not the ram.
What does it mean in another language?
And Amen will also mean like, let's see, what's the other one? Let me pull it up. I can actually post it and show you guys. Not believer, unbelieving. What slips my mind? Everyone knows this sound. I don't know why it slips my mind right now. But I'm about to pull it up right now anyway. So be it. So be it, or behold, the antelope. So be it, an antelope. When you say Amen Ra. And that's in the dialects of Amar Ar, Arteiga, Bini Amir, Bisharim, and Hadendoa, and the dialects that are connected to it. So Ra means antelope. So they're worshiping an antelope. They're calling the sun an antelope. The sun is Ra, you're calling it an antelope. Now you can take the word Ra to Papua New Guinea, and then that means sun. Like, but you go to Egypt, it means antelope. Go to Sudan, it means antelope. And Dr. Ben didn't like the fact that Amen means so be it. So he said it doesn't mean so be it, it means hidden one. So then it brings it to some mystical, magical stuff again. How are you going to make a hieroglyph of something that's hidden? Where they do that? So you'll run into a lot of problems, especially with body parts. When you see the face, you see a full body, you see the hand and arm, you see the fingers, you see the foot and leg. None of those will match up to what the hieroglyphs have been translated to be. Not one. Let me bust that out. That's using 2-bit. There's other languages that won't match up either. So you have 4 main languages, which is Tamazight, Beja, Mahas, Kunuzi, and Dongola. Dongolawi is a language that a lot of people try and use, but they create a lot of international phonetic alphabet fallacies. They're trying to compare sounds to hieroglyphs, but in that language they have a word for the actual hieroglyph. So that's the biggest problem that they fall under. Like the Ankh, I've been told that the Ankh is actually the setting sun. I made my own opinion up that the sun is a plume from a volcano going off. When I talk to the people in Egypt, they say it has nothing to do with life or a woman, but it has something that's more into nature, more into geographical location. So they never told me like this is exactly what it is. And some hieroglyphs, brothers and sisters in Egypt will tell me that they don't know what it means. A little bit of both, because Dr. Ben really sparked the interest in those who were, rebellious in the 60s and 70s, and they didn't want to be a part of the Greek fraternity and sorority thing. And so when that came out, it was like James Brown just dropped Black and I'm Proud. So then they're like, oh, we was pharaohs, as the joke that's made, we was kings. Now that's been pushed. And it became a big distraction, because instead of us focusing on what we have here, everybody focused on Egypt. And then here comes Hollywood. Jews created the Meta Netter. The Royal Society and the Jews created Meta Netter. And then in Hollywood, the Jews are the ones that made all the movies connected to Egypt, biblically, and some simple movie like The Mummy, something silly. The Jews have had a hold of it the whole time. Yeah, so now you know why the Kemetic community hates the Hebrews. They have to. Because if a Hebrew took the time to learn the information, which is funny because in the video of Almost Shongo, that's a Hebrew Israelite that's reading information. For some reason, he never spoke of this while dealing with Jabari. He never spoke of this while dealing with any other person claiming to be Kemetic, claiming to hang themselves, which is basically what they do. They got the suicide. They're from the suicide lands where they speak Medu Netter. Now in 2-bit, I sent you what Medu means before, and Netter, which actually is Natir. Medu means the penis. Natir means the grass on like a wooden plate or a dish. So it's some weirdo nonsense going on with this as well. That's in 2-bit. It's TU space BID. And we know what? I'm going to give you the easiest way. Type in BEJA, language, Beja language. That way everything will pop up. You put 2-bit, it's going to only pull up specific things. Specific. And no, B as in boy, E as in Eric, J as in January, A as in Apple. So it's the Beja language. It's Beja language. Type in Beja people. Yeah, that'll link you directly to it as well. Oh yes, yeah, please. Yes, pull up the Wikipedia and you can go over that and read it right now. It'll blow your mind. This information has always been out there. That's why I was looking forward. If it wasn't so late for Brother Kansu to come in, because Kansu knows about this as well.
Yeah, I appreciate the info, brother.
Anytime, man. It's truly my pleasure. Truly is.
As I always do. Anytime I get info, I dig into it.
Oh, you're gonna love this. You're gonna come back. Look, anytime somebody comedic, even you see them even typing something, you probably just slow smile will just start to spread across your face, like, oh man. Like you about to get hurt. But
like I got your pseudo ass.
Yep. That's right. Exactly. Suicide, pedophile, they're putting their penises in grass bowls. That's where it comes from, the ejaculation into lettuce, this Hebrew and set story. That's Medu Netter in Tubidawi. Medu Natir. Oh, let me hop back in. Oh, I got pulled out again. I'm gonna hop out and come right back in so I can see it. Because I don't know why this is tripping like that. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna come right back in.
These dudes are done. D-U-N done. So how you doing, Brother Ty? They move like agents. They gonna learn today. Where the chief at?
إفريقيا وصافلي تأهين تسبو تبرئ سور صوتا يدواي هندي و نفر تسدابي هو إيه اتسبو تتأهين ناتر يتويت أجيا مسئها
Yeah, see, that's the music. That's when it comes to MetaNetter, you can put any language to it. It's no language. It's just a cipher code that was used by Europeans to create nouns in order to speak to each other using it. So what they did is they used the methodology as in the Pigpen cipher, the Freemason cipher, the Rosicrucian cipher, the Napoleon cipher, Tic-Tac-Toe cipher, also the Knights Templar cipher. What they did is they used that methodology and applied it to the hieroglyphs. That's the methodology used for the decipherment of the hieroglyphs, which means that it has not been deciphered. They just made it up using the methodology they created. Now, exactly, including off of movies. That's right. Yeah. If you ask good brother Kansu, come on, tell me how to pull out. Okay. Okay, ask our brother Kansu what he feels about his degree in Egyptology. You'll be shocked at his response. Man, are you serious? I gotta come out and come back in. Hold on. This is crazy. This is really tripping. Wait to get my laptop. Yeah, play the video. I sent you images of Medu. It's M-I-D and then W, showing that it means like the penis. And then I sent you an image of Natir, but I'm gonna send it again. In fact, I'm gonna send it to you right now. Perfect. And did you show the images of like the Ankh, where publishing history hieroglyphica before they found the Rosetta Stone? They said it was the moon, the sun, the elements. Okay. I'm gonna post them in the back chat too.
You have just tuned in to the #1 investigative empirical data research channel, Black Lotus Television. Mine, manufacture, mass produce everything we use. That's 3MP on 2MRO TV. Maintenance, repair, overhaul, maintenance, repair, operations, major appliances, small appliances, and consumer electronics. We will also cover many subjects such as frequency plus sound equals color, volcanoes, oceans, and trees, fiction, fission, fusion, and geophysics, oceanography, and primordial biodynamic engineering, encompassing the totality and tonality of volcano, ocean, and tree energy, bringing forth flora and fauna, generating self-sustaining and self-replicating ecosystems with one interest: to function at its totality. Today we have an interesting topic: Contra Egyptiacus Alphabeticum Synopsis in Bahra.
This has been brought to you by Black Lotus Television. Yes, the introduction of indexes, Semitic alphabets, etc. In the introductory section of this book, I have given a list of the commonest Egyptian signs with their values as phonetics and determinatives, arranged practically according to the list of Egyptian hieroglyphic signs published by the eminent printing firms of Steinhardt in Berlin, Halsehaus in Vienna, and Harrison and Sons in London. Certainly, none of these lists is absolutely correct, since the classification of several of the signs is the result of guesswork, for the simple reason that Egyptologists do not know what objects certain signs are intended to represent. The only native Egyptian list of hieroglyphs known was published by Griffith. 2 hieroglyphic papyri from Tanis, London, 1889, 4-2. But this does not help us much in the identification of the hieroglyphs. The first printed list of hieroglyphs was published by Champollion in his Grammaire Egyptienne, Paris, 1836, and contains 260 hieroglyphs. In 1848, Birch published a fuller list with detailed descriptions. In the first volume of the German and English editions of Bunsen's Egyptian Stele, this is revised and enlarged and republished in 1867. In the second edition of the first volume of the English edition, it contained 890 hieroglyphs and 201 determinatives were grouped separately. In 1851, E. de Roge issued a list of hieroglyphs in his Catalogue des signes hiéroglyphiques de l'Imprimerie nationale, Paris, 1851, and he reprinted it with an explanation and description in the first part. According to this dictionary, people and mankind come from birds. Here we see people come from eagles and owls, loaf of breads and feathers. Interesting. And here we see people come from eagles, someone's foot and leg, and a toad. Here people come from the feather and the leaf, and a loaf of bread. Here you pretty much see the reoccurring event that actually we must come from eagles, feathers. And here we come from, well, I guess we have a cord connection to eagles and a loaf of bread and baby chicken. So here we have the eagle again. Many eagle clans in ancient Egypt. Ah, yes. Do you judge your KFC chicken? Well, the ancient Egyptians had people of the horn and baby chicken. Okay, now I have some serious questions. The cord, penis, and bread, lizard people. Interesting. Okay, now we are talking about the rabbit people, Bugs Bunny and various others. What's up, Doc? Yeah, you see it again. The bunny rabbit people, or a living man. Now here we have very odd objects. A feather, a loaf of bread, and a penis people. Ooh, not good. Okay, we'll just leave this one up in the air. I have some questions. Are there some more penis people? Here you have the bird servant feather people and more of the servant slave bird people. Now here we have chicken in hand people, and the people who came out the egg people with a loaf of bread. Oh, and this is how people are born. Interesting. Here we have what they will say is the backbone of people's feathers and baby chickens. Here we have many symbols like bows and snake people. And now we have the owl people, worship at Bohemian Grove. Hey, Libyan people are the owl people as well. Now we have the eyeball. This is more connected. Eyeball is the sun. Okay. People in general, eyeballs. I see you. Here we have Nebu, the water, foot, and leg people. Must be the seagoing people. Here we have the mouth, square, and hand giving loaves of bread people. Here we have a mouth inside of something people. Here we have the mouth, the owl people with the tongues. And now we have the mouth and the rope and the chicken, KFC chicken. Here we have the mouth, the C's, and the feathers of the chickens. I guess they didn't pluck the feathers all the way here on the baby chicken coming out of a plant. And here we have the lion eating the baby chicken people. Here we have the mouth and bread people with the bird sometimes people. Now we have the sled coming out of the mouth cord with jugs of water people and the mouth people with the owl and a chicken. And here we have the mouth and the loaf of bread and many different peoples. Here we have the mouth and hand people. Now we have the sun shining on my chicken and owl people. This one is the chicken in the sarcophagus.
And here we have the chicken. Now we have the lion people. They must have been lying. Back to the eagle in hand, loaf of bread people with a penis. And these are just random places from Arabia and Punt. Now we have the foot and leg over the eagle with a cord coming out of the eagle people. More bread and eagle people with legs. Now we have the loaf of bread and more bread people. And we have the bread people here again. A lot of bread people as well. Dog, chicken, and eagle people. There are a lot of people in Egypt. And they like chicken. Eagles as well. So now we have the goose people. Now we have the crippled Twa people, which is very insulting, but you will see that they like chicken and water as well, people. And now they like owls as well, people. Oh no, the rope and chicken in hand makes a dwarf a cripple. Oh, the Egyptian people are the owl people, Bohemian Grove. And here you see it again, Ren and Kam people of the owls and bunny rabbits. And now we have Simeon Levy's Vocabulario Geoglífico Copto Hebraico. For a few years after the appearance of the last volume of Bruce Walter book in 1882, no attempt was made to publish in a collected form the lexicographical material that could be collected from the additions to hitherto unpublished texts, which were appearing frequently in England, France, Germany, Russia, and Italy. This was brought to you by Black Lotus Civilization Broadcast. That's BLC TV, Black Lotus Television. Showing the world that not only can I introduce to you that the hieroglyphs have not been deciphered, but I can replace what you have in your mind with what the traditional indigenous Egyptian has to say. Thank you, and coming soon, very soon, are extraordinary videos. This is just the beginning. Here on Black Lotus Television.
Nah, he dropped. He dropped. Oh no, he's right here. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I'm back, family. That was a video I put together. I was trying to be sarcastic and facetious at the same time. At the same time, you know, showing that I could call those hieroglyphs what I want to call them using English language. Say it looks like a rope, a chicken, and a loaf of bread. In order for me to call anything else, I'd have to create a story. This loaf of bread means this. They said in the Bible, man cannot survive off water and bread alone. And if you try and survive off of water and bread, you'll see, there's a big truth to that. But it's funny that in Medu Netter, you have the word netter, which happens to be water, loaf of bread, and mouth. Very interesting. See, this is demonic and it's curses. Rosicrucian, people like Aleister Crowley created the Lama Society. That's a Kemetic movement. Well, who was his teacher? None other than the creator of Krataraphoa. That's right, Alessandro Cagliostro. That's right. That's right. If you go look at Zoega, oh man, you look like Elton John or something. Pauly Shore is extra flamboyant. They even made his statues flamboyant. You go look at a lot of them from France. The one who found the Rosetta Stone was put in jail for trying to rape somebody, and he wasn't trying to rape a woman. That's records. It's documented. It's like, yeah. Like this. You saw that? Oh, okay. You seeing that? You see the image of the homomedics? Oh shit. Oh man. See, I know how to dig, man. I like when it comes to this meta-netta, this Kemetic stuff, man. I have so much more to show. But as we can see, that the important thing is, why didn't they tell us this? Why didn't they tell us that these people were Germans and they're Jews and they're Jesuits? They're the ones that are putting this stuff together and creating it. Why wouldn't they tell us this? That's the real question. That this information shouldn't be new. This should be known. So for people that follow the Kemetic community and they're speaking this meta-netta, that you're cursing yourself and you're following some erectile, dysfunctional, sick, pedophile, pathetic. I mean, man, if you, okay. It's like this. You have the people who live there who are against homosexuality, who forced homosexuality on the people who are there. When it comes to the Siwa people, some of those people were forced into nasty things. They were raping the women and raping the boys. So it's been some horrible tragedies that have gone on. The Quara people and the Quara Oasis, they continue to fight. That's why there's less than 400 of them left. And they produce albinos. So there's so much to this that's been hidden for a reason. And it's time that I start really putting it out there here on our brothers and sisters. I have much more to go, but it's late, and for everybody in the family, Brother Ty Data. I have so many more videos on this. So I definitely would like if you would play my my videos anytime, man. I have some videos where I went in for a couple of hours on Ormus, Kabbalah, Corpus Hermeticum, and Ordos. All the Ordo. So before I cut out, I wanna share that again. Exactly what it was from the notes. Oh, let me find them. Hold on. Come on. Before we cut out. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to read the part of the notes that I didn't read last time on Pigpen Cipher. And my notes for this information I put together pertaining to Krataraphoa, Pigpen Cipher, and cryptography is Raymond Palmer's information on Ormus, the 18th century Rosicrucian who wrote about the Egyptian priests during St. Mark's time in 96 CE, Christian era, of course. He reformed Egyptian magic to fit the teachings of Christianity, religion, Society of Ormus, known as Ormesius. So there you see that it's Egyptian magic tying back in magical words, the Heka, and all that type of stuff. And for some reason, it gets back to that, but there's Christianity mixed into this. So when you look into the Order of the Golden and Rosy Cross's origin, the societies of the Rosicrucians, and also Priory of Sion, and the alchemy rejected knowledge. But when I went through Pigpen Cipher, you'll notice that Kabbalah and Kabbalistic is right there plain as day in the origin. And that's when I pulled up the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah, the 12th century, you have Rabbi Isaac the Blind, and the books that were presented, which are 6 of them. The Ma'aser Berashit, the works of creation, Ma'aser Merkabah, work of chariot, the Ma'aser Berashit, the literature of the works of creation. They made a second version, and the Sefer Yetzirah, which is Book of Formation, Sefer HaBahir, Book of Radiance, Sefer HaZohar, Book of Splendor. And it was also continued and brought by way of the 1486's Italian Hermetic philosopher Giovanni Pico della Mirandola, Johannes Reuchlin, and that's the one who wrote the De Verbo Mirifico on the wonders of working words, which ties back into that magical word. But I went even further with the Krateropoa because you have Corpus Hermeticum. So we're dealing with the language, the cipher, and we're dealing with the Kemetic tradition today, which is also tied into sadistic, nasty rituals and pedophilia and stuff. But you have the Corpus Hermeticum, which ties into hieroglyphic of Horapollo. The Pseudo-Egyptian rites of masonry invented during these years included the Krateropoa, 1770 AD, created by Cagliostro, and he created the Egyptian rites. 1778 rites of Misraim. In 1805 and 1814, you have the rites of Memphis. And they even have the magical flute of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart that many are familiar with. And the 2 names that you can find connected to it, I'll even spell them out, is Arturo Reggiani, Arturo Reghini, and Rene Guénon, which is Reneguenon. Now I'm about to give the advanced stuff before we cut out. Here goes the Ordos. You have the Octagon Society. If you want to dig down into the police and the fraternal orders of the police and how they have the authority to do the things they do, look into the Octagon Society. Very interesting with that, but that steps away from the topic. So look into Opus Dei, Order of the Camel, Kemet Kam, there we go. Order of Mopses, Order of 9 Angels, tied into the Kabbalah, Order of the Amarath, Order of the Eastern Star, Order of the Garter, Order of the Golden and Rosy Cross, which we went over, or Moose by Raymond Palmer, Order of the Happy Helmet, Order of the Star in the East, Order of the White Rose, Order of the Woodcutters, which that pervert who found the Rosetta Stone was a master at breaking down wood into forms of sawdust and binding them together. Also working with those who mastered that with stone. And you have Ordo Novi Templi. But I have to present the advanced stuff. The advanced stuff is what really connects it all. And this information is something where it's upon you to study and dig into, tread lightly. So the message I'll share is the Ordo Templi Astarte, the Ordo Templi Orientis, and you have to look into the Philadelphians. In 1797, Charles Nogier and Napoleon 1791. These are people tied into the Philadelphians. You have J.J. Odette, which is Jacques Joseph in 1809. The Philadelphia or Adelphi, names tied into it, such as Carbonari, 1820, 1821, The Conspiracy of Equals with Filippo Buonarroti, the Sublime Perfect Masters of the Philadelphia Circle of Geneva in 1806, 1818, 1820s, The Great Firmament, The Rights of Memphis, Napoleon III, who seized power over France, was also with the Philadelphia Grand Lodge. Also look into Mazzini's Young Italy, the International Working Men's Association, the IWA. You can also look into Karl Marx. With all these names I just mentioned are all tied into the Philadelphians. And these people had a big, big hand in the Kemetic community. So it doesn't end there. You have Pierre Planted, Beijent et al., 1983. Billington, 1980. Dratkovich, 1966, and Roberts, 1972. Into the Greek, the fraternity and sororities connected to the meta-netta stuff as well is Philike, Hetaeria, and then the exposure of the rejected knowledge, which is very interesting, because you get Alfred Wegener, Alfred Wegne, messed up on that last letter. So you have the Ignatius Donnelly in 1831, 1901, Atlantis, again, Atlantis, the Antediluvian World, 1882, Ragnarok, the Age of Fire and Gravel, and the Great Cryptogram in 1888. People who put meta-netta together and Krateropoa and societies and all the stuff they followed, this is all connected to each other. All of those things, you will find connections to Rosicrucian. That means that they went into the same school of thought, receiving the same education about history and information and knowledge. So there's much more to it. Looking those names up and seeing the connections to it, it's all upon the person, but we'll be digging in it. I can't really flush all this stuff down someone's throat because I didn't really dig into the Royal Society connection. Besides, J.J. Bartholomew and Thomas Young are both, one's a president of the Royal Society, one is just a regular Royal Society fellow. There's others, so much more that I want to go into with this. Family, I mean, I gotta wrap it up. You know, got to wrap it up. I was looking forward to some meta-netta scholars stepping up. Those who have always been combative, saying that meta-netta has been deciphered. And I've always asked them to show me the methodology used, and they would just say, my ancient ancestor, Semirwo Seret or Set Tepen Ra Mariamin Heru Ankh wooden statue or whatever told them that that's what it is, and all that good stuff with the Heru shirts and the Hotep starter kit. You know, bring it to the scholastic level. I took it upon myself to do the work for them. So when it comes to that meta-netta scholar stuff, technically that would make me better of a meta-netta scholar than Brother Reggie, than Jabari, than anyone you can name in the community, including Ashraf Kwesi, including Dr. Ben, including Seti and Young Pharaoh, because majority of the information that they put out about it not being deciphered actually came from me. So I put myself on this plateau of this, that if you stand up with this meta-netta stuff, and after this information has been presented, where it's not something I just brought out of my keister or something, you know, something I didn't just make up out of thin air, and providing PhD work. A lot of this stuff is PhD work. These are documented societies with 501, whatever, you know, 501c3s and all that good stuff. I'm gonna go ahead, family. Yeah, man, ready to cut out. All right, brothers and sisters, feathers up, tribe up. Peace.
All right, Lotus, man. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, man, brother.